We could do that. What's up, everybody? How you doing? This is Matt coming to you from SBR. I'm joined with Drew. How's it going, Drew?
I'm doing good, Matty Ice. Excited to talk a little MLB here.
My God, it's been so long. And hold on, let me mute this real quick. I'm watching myself on the other screen. And we were talking about this all for a few weeks now, and we realized that we needed some time to sit down and read about this stuff because we've been all so much in college basketball, NBA, football, whatever, what have you. That when I sat down to think about this and do notes the other day, I was like, have I ever seen baseball before? I don't remember anything.
Yeah, I definitely had the same feeling, man. I've tried to keep up with everything during football and basketball, but you're right. When you put this together, it was kind of like overload at first, and spent a week kind of doing some research, getting some opinions on teams. But definitely excited for opening day, man. And we got spring training games starting in about a week, a little over a week, like 8 days, I believe.
Yeah, it's very exciting. And then so when we sat down to plan this, we figure, okay, we'll do one a week for now, and we'll take a league, right? And so we sat down and said, okay, we'll start with the AL East. I said that because that's just what I'm familiar with. And I realized that, God, there's so much to dive into in just this league. There's only 6 teams, but there's so much, except for the Rays, which we kind of figured out pre-show here, but we'll get to that. So I guess we'll start off with the Red Sox, start at the top and work our way down.
Okay.
Had a great season last year. They went, 93-69. Ended up losing to Cleveland in the playoffs. No harm against that. Cleveland obviously went on to have a great playoffs. And I think what I want to start off with them is that they brought in or have pretty good young core guys, which a lot of teams don't. And you got guys like Bogarts, Holt, Bradley, and a serious Rookie of the Year candidate, and Andrew, I'm going to murder this name, but Benintendi. He's really good.
Yeah, just go with that.
But I think that this sets them apart from a lot of the other teams in the AL East by having this young core guys. Perhaps the Yankees too, but they're a bit unproven, I guess, in the bigs.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta say, I do expect the Red Sox to come out and have a fantastic season again. I don't want that to happen, but I'm a Yankee fan. But I think it will. Those guys, along with some of the veteran guys, really put together a solid team, at least as far as the bats go. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree pretty much with everything you said, except the Yankees fan part. Just to give like the listeners a little rundown. Atlantis Race and Sportsbook in Reno came out with over-unders just a few days ago, actually, and the Red Sox, what we're going to talk about, it's kind of priced into it. They're actually leading the AL East, came out at 90.5 wins, followed by the Blue Jays at 86.5. So a little bit of a drop off there. So a lot of this is kind of built into the market. It's just a matter of how much. And by the way, I believe, Atlantis opens up the market with MLB totals, and the Westgate should follow. They put out a tweet saying February 21st. So the market will start to kind of evolve there here in the next week or so. But with what we were saying about the Red Sox, a lot of it is priced in at 90.5 wins. Last year they had 93 wins, so a little bit of a drop off, even though they had like Chris Sale, a lot of other guys. But last year with the 93 wins, they only made about 2.5 units for their backers if you were to bet them the whole season. So the market's been on the Red Sox. They should continue to. The big market, all the money. Bringing over Chris Sale, I think it's one of the biggest moves of the offseason. Love his K numbers, but bringing in a lefty into Fenway Park, with the short porch there off the Green Monster, I'm not a big fan of that. And when you look at the rotation, they also have Drew Pomerantz and Edwin Rodriguez, the 5 and 6 guys fighting for that 5th rotation spot, both lefties. I just don't know what they're doing there. I mean, when you look at Porcello, Sale, David Price, Stephen Wright, they got talent, but bringing in the lefties into the rotation, I'm not so sure about. And then looking at a couple other ads, Mitch Moreland, Junior Lake, who's a high ceiling guy, kind of like that, coming over from the Cubs. And another guy to watch is Pablo Sandoval. I know he didn't do a lot last year, but if he has a big spring training, I think that could be a real the Red Sox. And keep in mind, they have a good bullpen, got Kimbrel there as the closer, and Bogarts back-to-back 350 on base percentage, back-to-back seasons, and he had 20 home runs last year. So,
Yeah, it's kind of
there's not much to
surprising
like.
actually that their projected total is as low. I wrote all this stuff down, but I didn't really look at that. Taking into account what they lost, which really was David Ortiz. You lose 30 home runs, 100 plus RBIs, which is significant. However, you add Mitch Moore, and like you said, back-to-back 20 home run seasons, Gold Glove last season. Thornburg also, and then Sale, yeah, big time. The lefty situation in the rotation is an issue. And especially other than Sale, Sale's not really a contact pitcher, but Pomeranz can be, and Rodriguez can be for sure.
Yeah, so I think Sale was actually pitching towards contact a little more last year, and he still had 233 Ks and 226 innings. So it's kind of what they did lose Juan McCann in that trade, though, and he's kind of a high upside guy. So long term for the Red Sox, but I guess I would actually go over. I don't know about you if you're betting their season.
I think I agree with that. One of the only issues that I have, again, Big Panda, but I don't know. He's so hard to predict. Apparently, he's in shape again this season, so he's whatever that means for him. But Craig Kimbrell, I'm not too sold on him. He did have very significant control issues, I'd say, last season. His walk ratio was 5.1, which is relatively high for a closer. But other than that, and their catching depth is not fantastic to go with the level of pitching they have on their team. So that would be worrisome, but not enough for me to fade them on any level. And I think 90.5 over that is very, very doable.
Yeah, I agree. And this is one of the ones I like more. I actually like the Red Sox over 90.5. And a lot because, when the Red Sox and Yankees are going right at their win totals and a guy goes down, these big market teams, they'll go out and spend the money to fill that need, so coming down towards the trade deadline, they could actually become a better team. Something to keep in mind. And that's hard to handicap.
Yeah, absolutely. And I gotta say that they're probably going to take the AL East.
Sorry, man. We'll see, though.
All right. Anything else you want to touch upon for the Red Sox?
No, I think we hit on it. Definitely a lot to like in Boston, and I'll probably get to the window and bet them a season win total over.
Yeah, because you got to figure. Well, I don't know. I mean, you got other books putting them out. I guess I wouldn't expect that to move too far. So I'd say, yeah, now's about the time. A team won 93 games last season, arguably got better. All right. Let's move to the Blue Jays up in Toronto. Had an 89 win season last season. Very good. Win total for them is at 86.5. So we're seeing a trend of all these teams kind of, so far being expected to do slightly less. Though with the Blue Jays, I understand that. They lost Edward Encarnacion, who was look, we know who he is. We know what kind of player he is. I got a note here somewhere about he's just consistent. They have a deadly lineup: Tulowitzki, Donaldson. They still have Bautista, who may or may not be what he used to be. He definitely struggled last year, but it remains to be seen what happens this season. However, losing Encarnacion is still he was their most potent weapon consistently, I believe. Second in MLB in home runs since 2012, 6 in OPS, and then you see guys like Tulo go through their stretches of bad play. Guys like Bautista certainly have seen their stretches of bad play, but Encarnacion, like I said, they lose consistency, which is significant.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's 900 OPS the last 2 seasons out of your lineup. That's going to be tough for any team to replace. And they sign guys like Matt Latos. I don't know if he's going to make the roster, but if he does, putting him throwing 86 mile an hour softballs up there in Rogers Center against AL East lineups, that's fade city for me. And one thing that I was researching before we came on, Matty, and they have 3 big name pitchers all on the World Baseball Classic rosters. That's something I'm looking at this year, possibly to fade down the line, just the extra innings on the arm. They got J.A. Happ, Roberto Ozuna, and Marcus Stroman all slated to play in the WBC. Not sure exactly how that works as far as how much playing time, but it's something to just keep an eye on for the listeners. And as far as betting Toronto, 86.5. They keep in mind they lost units last year. They almost lost 10 units for their backers, even though they won 89 games. The market was all over them. So we'll see how they're priced going forward this year.
Yeah, I mean, and looking at more of the roster, you got injury guys that are injured and inconsistent. So Tulowitzki definitely inconsistent, also injury prone. And I think that the really big issue for me for them and trusting them, if you're looking at just a season win total or even day to day, is their middle relief is just almost non-existent. They lost a lot. They had Cecil and Benoit last season who helped out, obviously. Asuna, definitely an elite closer at this point. I
Yeah,
wasn't
high upside
aware
guy.
of the baseball classic thing. That's a very interesting. But
Yeah, no, that's
I
just
would
something.
trust him.
Yeah. I mean, he's a. I don't have his K numbers in front of me, but yeah, he puts down. His numbers are really good, and then JP Howell also out of the pin. He's pretty good, but yeah, I could see going down their roster. It's just they're rotation Stroman, Sanchez, Estrada, Happ. I like that. But outside of that, you're right, middle relief guys. But you got to love their left side of the infield there with Donaldson and Tulo, possibly the best in baseball. And then their outfield's solid as well. Batista, Pilar, I like them. So, but yeah, 900 OPS with Encarnacion gone. I'm not going to be looking to bet on the Blue Jays coming out of the gate.
Especially they got a bunch of slow starters like those same guys. Tulo, Russell Martin, slow starter.
Yeah.
Usually.
You're right.
Sometimes a slow ender.
That's a great point, Matty.
Let's see what else we got on that. That's about it for them. I just I don't like them right now. I need to see a lot coming out of them. I need to see how their team comes together. I need to see how their bullpen comes together more specifically, and if these guys come out with a fire under their ass or not.
I like it.
Okay.
What do we got? The Orioles next?
Yeah, let's do that. The Orioles. So they had an 89-win season, second in the AL. Lost to the Jays in the wild card. That was a tough game. Oof.
You're right.
They're pretty much bringing the same team they had last year, and I think that for them that's very good. You got guys like Trumbo, Adam Jones, Crash Davis, Machado, JJ Hardy. These are all consistent for the most part. You know what you're going to get, all right? Crash Davis is going to strike out 1,000,000 times, but he's going to hit 40 home runs. Mm-hmm. Hopefully not get suspended for Adderall. So you know what you're getting from these guys. And I think that's good, especially with a coach like Buck Showalter, who really consistency is such a key.
Yeah, absolutely. Is that what he had? Adderall he got busted with?
I think so, yeah. It was a few years ago.
Oh man, jeez. But yeah, as far as betting Baltimore, last year they were one of the more profitable teams in all of baseball, especially in the AL East. I think they won over 16 units for their backers, and they went 50 and 31.
They've won an insane amount of one-run games. I don't know the numbers in front of me, but I know that that's true, and that is a significant.
You gotta tip your cap to that, man. I mean, that's big time. And one thing with the Orioles, 27 and 18 last year in day games and 50 and 31 in Camden Yards, something to keep an eye on. You got to love their outfield. I mean, Hung-Soo Kim, Adam Jones, and Seth Smith. I like those guys, 2 up-and-comers on the corners. The rotation is where I really question. I mean, last year they seemed to do well, at least more than what the market thought. Tillman, Gosman, Bundy, and then they bring in Wade Miley. I mean, Wade Miley, I know he's a former first rounder, but he's a fly ball guy, putting him in Camden Yards against AL East lineups. I just think that he's going to get rocked. I mean, he had a 4.5 FIP last year, which is his highest home run rate of his career. I just don't see that going well, but you got to love their bullpen. Zach Britton in O'Day coming out of the pins. So some pluses and minuses. I kind of I could see Baltimore making a push this year.
Yeah, I'm definitely buying Baltimore. And you mentioned Britton. As we were looking at this, I didn't realize he had a perfect season last year on saves, 47.
Yeah, money.
I mean, what an ERA 0.54, and that's I think a record for a relief pitcher throwing over 50 innings or something like that. But just very impressive. And then again, I think the importance of them remaining together as a team. The only really piece they lost was Matt Wieters, which is whatever. The only issue with them, like you said, rotation, huge concern, especially with Tillman maybe starting the season on the DL. I've always been a huge Ubaldo Jimenez fan, but he burns me so much when I trust him. And
yeah, you like Ubaldo in his later years, even?
Yeah, no, I remember I saw his. I don't know if I remember the no-hitter or a perfect game when he was in Colorado. I was at a bar in Pennsylvania, and he was so young then, And I just was like, this guy's awesome. And then
Yeah.
put up like a 7.5 ERA for the rest of the season. But
Yeah, he was hitting triple digits that game. I remember that. But he's a long way from there now.
And I find myself feeling the same way about Gausman, and I always have. Now, those kinds of things get me into trouble, but I see that spark, and I think Gausman's going to come out this season. I don't really expect much from Jimenez or Miley especially. But Bundy and Gausman, I think if they step up, then the Baltimore will definitely see that 80-90 win again.
Yeah, I agree. And it's tough just to handicap a team, especially if we're talking about win totals on one player like Wade Miley. I mean, it's just, the fly ball guy putting him in Camden Yards against AL East lineups. He needs to go somewhere like Petco Park, in my opinion, and just let those fly balls go to die. But yeah, but again, it's just one spot, and who knows if they'll compensate for it. So, yeah, I'm looking to put on Baltimore.
Worst ERA among starters for any playoff team last season, too, which you could see why, I guess.
Yeah.
But that also goes to say how great their hitting is, and it really is, and again, remained intact. So
yeah, absolutely.
And I'm not hearing about any injuries either on that side of the field. So other than Tillman, they seem like they're healthy. We'll see how that goes. We've already seen the number one prospect in baseball go down after like an hour in spring training.
Yeah, really. So what's Tillman's status as far as
Tillman, back injury, I believe, still dealing with it. Same one from last season. And he's expected to start the season on the DL, but no confirmation yet, obviously.
Okay.
Yeah, that's definitely something to monitor. And I guess, I don't know. They need him. Looking at these pictures, they need him.
Absolutely. They need all the arms they can get.
Mm-hmm. So do the Yankees. 84 wins last season, projected at 83.5. I don't know if that's even going to happen. I'm worried about these guys this year. I feel great that they're finally starting to bring in some young players. They're not doing their normal thing. They got Holiday, they got Carter, just two guys. That's fine. The youth is filled out. Gary Sanchez, I can't say enough good things about that guy, especially because he's a catcher. I mean, you got a 24-year-old guy who played at least 100 games last season, or 200 games, like he was Mike Piazza, or 200 at bats, excuse me. And that's both great and worrisome at the same time, because like myself and the fan base and the league is probably putting a lot of pressure on him to see what he's going to do this season. Do I expect him to hit those numbers? No. People are generally expecting him to go over 40 home runs. I don't know about that. Like I said, everyday catcher. There's a lot of things to take into consideration there, and most people don't come out that hot like that. I think that if he had played the whole season, we would have seen things even out. I'm happy with what we got though with him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Gary Sanchez, he had 200 at bats and over 1,000 OPS with 20 jacks. It's just when you look at history of MLB, the sophomore slump is real, because that tape on these hitters gets out. MLB pitchers are in the MLB for a reason. They're really good, and they're going to pitch to his weaknesses. So he's going to have to overcome that. And he's made it all the way this year, overcome things. So it's just something. It's very hard to handicap, Matty.
Yeah, but I guess more logically, he would regress than either play to what he did, which is record-breaking, what he did, or better, which, I mean, that'd be nice, but let's not expect that. And then they got guys like Greg Bird, Tyler Austin, Aaron Judge, who I'm really excited to see get some significant playing time. And then, best of all for me, they said they got Aroldis Chapman back after releasing him to the Cubs, and after the Cubs almost killing him in the postseason. But he seems happy to be back.
Yeah, the Cubs wanted to get their money's worth there. I mean, he had a .86 whip last year, 90 Ks. I mean, we all know Aroldis Chapman. He's just lights out. And I love that, you were hitting on the catcher. I mean, getting kind of an aging Brian McCann off the books, I think, is actually good for the organization. And then looking at their rotation, Tanaka, Pineda, who, he's up and down. I like betting on Pineda, though. I think he's got really high upside. And if you can figure out this control issue, I think the sky's the limit for that guy. CC Sabathia, he's you got to hand it to him. I don't look to bet on him, but he eats up innings. You got to give him that. And in the AL East, that's that's a positive. And then up the middle, Didi Gregorius at shortstop, he's solid, and Sterling Castro's bat at second base is a big plus. And their outfield, Gardner, Ellsbury, and whoever they have in right field. Are they going to have Judge in right?
They'll be platooning, I suspect. But yeah, Judge will definitely see some time. I don't see any reason why they keep him out of the outfield completely.
Yeah. So I mean, those guys can all, track down fly balls. So defensively, I think the Yankees take a step in the right direction. And with the catcher spot, I like the Yankees. It's going to be interesting for the rotation. I'll probably pick and choose when to back them and when to fade them, depending on the pitcher. But yeah, you got to love Chapman at the closer, and their middle relief I like too. Tyler Clippard coming over.
Tyler Clippard came back. See, that's what I mean. I feel like I just don't know anything going on. We're so out of the loop for baseball. I had no idea. I love him, especially when he was on the Yankees. So that's great news.
Just because he wears glasses, or do you actually?
I think it is because he wears. Well, he used to wear those like yellow hunting glasses, and he was so skinny, and he has that almost like Lincecum delivery where he throws his whole body back, like almost like an old school, like a Sandy Koufax. I just like the way he throws.
Yeah, man. I'm a big.
He's a quiet guy. He seems like a nice fella. Never any problems that I can remember coming out of the locker room for him, and just consistency. Look, when he was on the Nationals, at one season he was within the conversation for the Cy Young, for his middle relief. He was untouchable. All the amount of holds he had was insane, and then they moved him up to close for a while when gosh, I can't remember the guy's name, but he went down, and I mean, he's a very versatile pitcher. He was a starter for a while too. Not suggesting that he does that now, but certainly capable guy.
Absolutely. So what are you betting your team over 83.5 or under 83.5?
Before I walked in here, I was going to say under, but I just think I talked myself over.
Nice. All right. And a couple things about
it's like you said, Tanaka. I've never trusted. I don't know why. I was always excited to have him, but I just always feel like something's about to happen. And Pineda, I'm with you. I've always trusted in him. Last season, I got burned a few times, but he prior to that was undervalued, I think, and ended up helping at least me out a lot, both in fantasy and in normal betting.
Yeah, who's that? Tanaka?
No, Pineda.
Oh yeah, Pineda. Fantasy wise, I had him a couple years. I'm a big fan, but that walk rate and kills your ERA. But at least he gets Ks. So.
All right, and let's see, where are we now? Rays.
Last and least.
Yeah, here's my notes on the Rays. Not much going on there, honestly, and that's probably a good thing for them. The last thing they need is turmoil and stuff to upset the boat and whatnot. They really should just try to find consistency. They have probably one of the worst offenses in the league right now, or at least they did last year. Mm-hmm. I don't see much coming out of there. They're a good fade team, especially within this division. I don't know. I really don't have too much to say about the Rays. Couldn't find that much compelling information. I just don't see anything coming out of there.
No, you're a Northeast guy. Why would you care about the lone Southern team in the AL East? But
yeah, what's that about? Like, it's the one I can't drive to the stadium.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's almost interesting. We should look back since the AL East became the AL East, what we know now, if the longer travel distance has actually hurt the Rays or helped the Rays, because they're the one that would have to travel further more. But I don't know. That'd be interesting. But that's looking like last
year, Gavazzi question, I feel like he would know that.
That's something he would know. Okay, something to maybe ask him. But yeah, last year they lost, I believe, definitely one of the most units in all of MLB. I think they lost 30 units last year. So the market was expecting a lot more from this team, but they went 68 and 94, almost got to 100 losses, not quite. Looking at they have a couple arms on the World Baseball Classic. They got Chris Archer and Alex Colomé, their closer, who he's lights out as well. I believe he's going to play for the Dominican team. And their outfield is something I like. Souza, Rasmus, and Kiermaier, they all can track down fly balls. So I'm actually going to look to probably bet the Rays under, because they were a little bit trending over team last year. And you touched on it. They just can't score enough. Their lineup doesn't have it. And it seems like Tropicana, for whatever reason, doesn't have enough lighting. That's what I've heard as well. Like when you watch former players talk about hitting there, they need more lights in that godforsaken stadium. It's awful, but so something to keep in mind betting unders in Tropicana. A lot of that's worked into the market now, but yeah, something that I've noticed betting Tampa Bay in the past.
I like that. That's good. Okay, I want to touch upon a little just fantasy stuff, guys in the league that stand out to you. Let's say first off, I don't know where my note is for this. Oh, actually, I have a question. Said I know I asked you this yesterday, and I got to laugh at you. But do you think this is the year David Price wins his playoff game?
I would say it's a great question, and if he stays healthy, I think that he will. Yeah.
And would you like to see Bartolo Colon in the home run derby?
I would love it. It's down there at Marlins Park though, and that's kind of those fences are. It's more of a pitcher's park, so I don't think you would get any.
Well, he's a pitcher.
Oh, would you want? Are you talking about him pitching home run derby or?
No. That would be funny though. Actually, you know what? I want to see him out shagging fly balls with all those like 13-year-old kids.
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, anything to do with Bartolo Colon is just amazing, and I'm into reading and watching it.
I'm just looking at some other little notes while I have you on the phone. Or you see the extra inning rule they're thinking about changing?
Yeah, it's like a beer league softball, putting a guy on second base starting in the 10th inning and going from there. I think that making it shorter games it would definitely help with that. And I know I'm going to be in the minority, but I actually like it. I think that it adds another dimension to, bunting them over, getting them in, things like that. And you got to remember, it would also affect pitchers coming out of the pen because you would more want high K guys, even more so than you would now. And you would want to stay away from contact guys. But I kind of like it in a way. I don't know. How do you feel, Maddie?
I don't know. It's weird. To me, it's sort of like you take overtime in football and you start them on the 35 or the 40, right? So people that would say that this changes the game too much, if you think about it in terms like that, then that seems pretty reasonable, right? I like your opinion about the pitchers who have a huge strikeout. The one question I had, I didn't see it anywhere, but or I just thought of it like, who is it? Just the next person at bat? How did they pick this person? Because then you wouldn't want to skip your at bat, right?
Yeah, I played in a softball league that did it, and it was the last person that hit just went on second base. So the person that ended the 9th inning would just go to second base and then start that way. But I'm sure that there'd be a lot of substituting, so you'd put your fastest guy on the bench to come in for that guy and put him on second base. But it's definitely an interesting concept, and I just think Rob Manfred and what he's done already in MLB is such a positive for the sport that I think just looking at these things and implementing them at the minor league level and seeing how they do and seeing how fans at that level like it, I think is a good thing. So just to be talking about this, I think is good for baseball.
True. And then one other thing that I ran across, which I feel like I see every year, but DH in the NL, they're talking about that again. Baseball is so weird like this, and I did an article about this last year, I think, and I was thinking about it. And baseball is the only sport that I can think of that you have these differences. Okay, so not only within the league, right? You have two separate leagues. You have DH, non-DH, obviously, but all of the fields are completely different.
Mm-hmm.
And it's strange. So it almost goes hand in hand with having separation in the leagues like that. People want to say, well, we want everything to be the same. Otherwise, there could be small variations in how competitive things are or what all these things are. But I mean, if you think about it, every single Major League Baseball stadium is different dimensions of the field.
And that's something I like about the sport. So I'd love to read your piece on that on the DH or whatever it was, because I'd love to
dig it up. I don't know but I was thinking about it the other day.
Yeah, no, it just sounds really interesting. And actually, I've kind of done my own, I guess, research just really informally on the subject. And I grew up in South Florida as a Marlins fan, so an NL guy. And so I'm pro, not DH, I'm pro hitters, pro pitchers hitting and moving them over and double switches and things like that. Although I do respect the AL view of it is more action and putting a hitter there. And most AL guys say, why would I want to watch a hitter hit? And I get that. But coming from the NL side, I mean, it's just an added dimension to the game. And I actually feel that there's a high correlation to you like what you grew up with. So I'm an NL guy. I like this. I'm going to guess you're a Yankees guy and you like the DH.
I had to be sold the other way around, actually. It took a while last season, but it's like you said, I do like to see pitchers hit. I mean, look at Bartolo Colon. I'll just let him hit. I don't care about anybody else. And then you got Greinke and Bumgarner hitting home runs off each other. Like, that's exciting. So I was definitely changed, but I won't go so far as to say I would nix the DH. I think keep it different. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, and actually because it is a fundamental advantage for the American League because they can build their lineups. So when it's an interleague game, I think that the American League in an American League park has an advantage over the NL, but it's okay because the All-Star game is the one that determines the World Series home field advantage, which I think is also cool because
I think they changed that this season. I don't think that's happening anymore.
God, I hope not. I didn't read that, but I know I'm probably in the minority again, but baseball has the only All-Star game that is really cool in my opinion. So I don't know. I think that Rob Manfred needs to just keep it the way it is because you keep the most people happy, and we're talking about it like this, which I think is good for baseball as well.
Absolutely. All right, just going to close out quick with a little fantasy stuff. At least for the Red Sox, I kind of broke down a few of the guys, and the one who I don't know, David Price. He's an ace, no doubt about that, I guess, or can play like one. But he had a pretty rough 2016. Just about a 4 ERA, inconsistent, which is something you'll hear me say a lot as we continue with this baseball stuff because that's what it's all about. It's consistency. And I think that he's a good value grab. If people step up and take him early, good for them. But if he falls, I think his ADP is going to drop from what you normally see it as. You know, you always get those, Boston boner guys who will take him in the second round, or well, now that sales there, maybe not. But I think that he's going to fall a little bit, and I think that he's a very, very good value target coming up in the next few weeks. And also Jackie Bradley Jr. I think if I can make it happen, he's going to be my number 3 outfielder. Aside from the strikeouts, I expect him to have the kind of season that like a Mookie Betts maybe had last season, like that big breakout.
Yeah, I love offensive bats in Fenway, in Yankee Stadium, so I usually tend to back what you're saying. And as far as David Price, I'm there with you. I'd really like to see his velocity, especially towards the end of spring, before like jumping on him in an early round, especially being there in Fenway Park. But I will say, like, David Price dropping in the rotation, then bringing Chris Sale in, so you wouldn't want lefty. So he's at least going to be number 3, maybe number 4. It's not always a bad thing because you're more likely to get wins. He's going to be more slated towards other number 3s and other number 4s and even number 5s, especially early in the season. So I don't always think that that's a bad thing. I think it's actually a good thing.
No, I agree. If you have inherently less pressure on yourself just because of how good the rest of your team is, and like you said, you're pitching now you're not pitching against Chris Sale, you're pitching against Drew Pomeranz type of guy who I actually really like. But yeah, that's a fantastic point. And I got actually one more other thing too. Jose Bautista, I wouldn't touch him this season, even if he fell to me at a good price, because he did the last 2 seasons and burned me. And Tulowitzki, definitely worrisome. It's funny. I was reading something and they go, he's still a top 12 shortstop. I'm like, 12? Really? That's it? That's all we're giving him right now? And again, consistency and hitting and injuries, I understand, but I don't know. Top 12 seems a little low to me. And he has such a high ceiling, but I hope that he falls. And I will definitely snag him in, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 round.
You're looking to buy on Tulo?
At the right time, sure. I mean, 2, 3 years ago, I would have taken him, or maybe a little longer than that, but he was a top 10 pick. You don't get a shortstop hitting like that too often.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I mean, especially because Donaldson's there for protection. So as long as those 2 guys stay healthy, and just AL East bats, putting them in your lineup outside of the Rays, I'm a big fan of, and especially the shortstop position, him, Bogarts, even Didi Gregorius. I like all of those guys, probably more so than the market's going to like them.
So yeah, Didi might be worth a flyer too this season after he really came alive towards the end of last year. And excuse me, it really impressed me, actually. I was pretty bummed out about how he had turned out for the Yankees at that point. And when they signed Castro, I was always a big fan of Starlin Castro too, even though he started falling off. And I was kind of hoping that they were going to slot him in there permanently. But now that they've kept Didi in there, I'm okay with that. And I think
Yeah, it's almost like a sleeper. I don't know what his ADP is, but if you don't get one of the better shortstops early on, he might be one to wait on.
Absolutely. All right. Anything else you'd like to add today?
Probably just ended on. I know it's kind of tough, but I would go over on the Red Sox season over under wins total. For kind of the same reason I would go under on the Rays if they're both projected, right there going towards what their season win totals are. The Red Sox are going to be buyers and the Rays are probably going to be in reloading mode and let go some of their talent. So I think the market isn't totally onto that. And I think the Red Sox total will move up and the Rays total will probably move down. So buy sooner than later.
Yeah, I'm definitely, from talking to you, sold on the Red Sox over right now. It's 90.5. And the reason I'm looking at this now and talking to you is that I think this number is set mostly for like assuming that things are kind of where they're going to be. I see that a lot of the factors here, I don't expect them to go badly. I actually expect a lot of these people to do better than they're expected to do, which would make that over 90.5 quite an easy decision on my part.
Yeah, man. Well, let's go Red Sox over.
I won't say that. Okay. As long as the Yankees win more games, I'll be happy.
All right, Matty. Well, hey, this was the first show, so hopefully, we know we got some improvement to do out there. So,
I haven't even really been on camera in like 8 months, but we kept putting this off. I'm like, I need to read more. Trying to listen to radio, trying to read, and I was like, you know what, let's just do it. But I feel good about this, and again, I'm feeling really good about the Red Sox over right now. I think I might have to run to the box myself and drop a few in.
I don't think it's those heritage boxes there in Costa Rica. I don't think they're out yet with season win totals. I haven't seen them. Are they out?
I haven't been there since last week, I think, but I'll check it out. I haven't looked at anything on baseball for that yet. I'm just
okay.
Wasn't ready.
I have Bet Online. I have 5 Dimes. They're both not out, so I don't know. We'll see where the market goes. But so what's the plan next Thursday?
Next Thursday we will do another league. What do you want to do? We can do the NL East. How about that?
All right, let's go NL East.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us again. And I don't know, we might actually bring some more people on another time. We're gonna probably do an MLB roundtable, a la the one we do for college basketball. But we're gonna start shaping our baseball schedule a bit more in the coming weeks, obviously. But like I said, we just wanted to get some content out there and I just wanted to get myself back into the flow of things personally by hopping in here and doing one of these with Drew. And Drew, I wanted to thank you for coming out, and also plug your website and your Twitter, whatever you got going on before we get out.
Yeah, I guess Twitter, Drew Martin Bets. That's my name, Drew Martin with BETS on the end, and SBR contributor, and also have content at sportsmemo.com. So feel free to hit me up on Twitter if you have any questions or comments on what you want me and Maddie to talk about next time, and anything like that.
All right. Well, thank you again for joining me, and we will see you guys again on Tuesday for the college basketball roundtable, but then Thursday we'll be back for baseball. All right. Thanks for watching. Later on,
Thanks for having me on, buddy.